Welcome. Today we're going to talk about, I'm going to dig it out. Didn't realize that. Second Mountain by David Brooks, which I think I said in a haul a couple months ago. I was like, I don't even know why I got this. I don't actually remember what was so important about it, why I thought it'd be cool. But now I've read it, and we're going to review it today. So buckle up. If you've ever felt, and actually sure probably everybody has, that you're living a life that, futile is the word that comes to mind, is not all that you'd want it to be, is just kind of going through the motions, then you're living what David Brooks would call a first mountain life, one where your actions are centered on you and what's best for you, and just, again, all around you. That's really simple. And what he would say is that a second mountain life is one where your actions, your commitment, and your life is lived for other people. He would actually say you have a strong commitment in one of these four areas. First is a vocation, second is spouse or family, third is philosophy and faith, and fourth is community. And the whole purpose of his book is to show you what a second mountain life is and how to live it and how to get there for yourself. He breaks his book up into two main sections. One is what is, or how did we get to a first mountain life as most people live? And number two is all about those four commitments that you may have and what your life would look like if you have those. One of the interesting things that I found in the book was the introduction of what's called a moral ecology. And it is just the society, everything that is around you that conducts, that informs how you're going to live, how you're going to dress, how you're going to talk, everything like that. And David Brooks would say that we have a moral ecology of focusing on yourself. And that has resulted in four crises, as he says it. The first one is the loneliness crisis, and that's we're just less likely to belong to any type of group. We don't go to church. We are less likely to stay married or be in relationships for a long time. So we're alone. When things get hard, we have no one to turn to. Number two is distrust, which kind of balances off one as well. That we don't trust that any sacrifice we're going to make is going to be returned by anyone else. So if we do make a sacrifice of what we'd say is our small piece of the pie, we don't trust that anyone else is ever going to return it, and we're just giving up what little we have access to. There's a book, Leaders Eat Last, which I will link above and below, that we talked about before, that talked about how to change that mentality in your business so that you stop thinking of your employees as a piece, as like a number on a spreadsheet, and really invest in them so that they can start to trust your organization, although it's probably going to take a while because distrust is so deep. The third crisis is one that Brooks calls the crisis of meaning. And he actually sees that the crisis of meaning comes along with a lot of mental health issues, but basically because we have no one to turn to when we're in trouble, because everyone's struggling anyways, or most people are struggling anyways, and we've lost trust in institutions. We just have nowhere to go when we are having issues. And so we have the crisis of meaning, no one to figure it out with, and that results in mental health issues. And the fourth and final one that he says kind of all the other three build towards, and we're really seeing that now actually, as I record this on June 3rd, and we look at all the different riots that are happening in many spots of the world, but in the US particularly, is tribalism. Tribalism where we guard our little piece of the pie, and then we exclude, we create an in-group and an out-group, and anyone we don't identify as in our in-group, we villainize and we vilify, and we make sure that they can't get near our piece of the pie. And we're seeing that a lot, honestly, with white people, cops doing it to black people. And the black people are saying this is not okay, or people of color, non-white people are saying this isn't okay, and hopefully some white people are saying this isn't okay as well. Now, the result of this comes to, if you want to move to a second mountain life, is making a commitment in one of the four areas that I've already mentioned that we'll cover again, and Brooks covers again for the last more than probably 60% of his book. The first one is a vocation. And Brooks draws a line between a vocation and a career. So you can have a career, I'm a programmer as my career, and I could have a vocation that's different. It could be entirely different, right? And it could actually be my family, could be my vocation, but it's something that's outside. It doesn't have to be your career. Not everything has to be monetized. Your passion does not always have to be what you do every day, but it's something that you are dedicated to outside of just making money for yourself. One really interesting thought that Brooks brought up in this was that we spend so much time looking at any tech product, right? Like, honestly, people pay way more attention to any tech reviews I do on a computer monitor, on an iPad, anything like that, than they do on any of the book reviews, on any of my other content. And that's because they spend way more time investing in what is ultimately a trivial purchase than they do in really thinking about what their life would be like, anything like that. And that's sad. The second commitment that Brooks says you may have is to your marriage. Now, he identifies a marriage, a strong marriage, as one that's not flashy. It's one that the little things day in, day out you do for each other. And that's what builds the strong marriage, continuing just basically putting one more brick, one more brick, one more thing, right? The way you get 2,000 blog posts on your site is by writing a post all the time, writing posts regularly. The way you get, just listen to the Upgrade podcast. Say, we got to 300 by just doing one every week. That's how you do it. You get a strong marriage by just adding to that account every week. He also reminds us in this that if you want that strong marriage, you're so easy in a marriage to focus on the faults of your partner, of your spouse, and ignore, as the biblically would say, the plank in your own eye. When instead, if you focus on what you could be doing better and not ignoring, but giving grace to your partner on the things that they might be doing better, could do better, then what you often find is your marriage gets way better because you're affecting the only behavior that you really can't affect. You can only affect your behavior. You can't affect your partner's behavior. But your marriage will get stronger as you are a better spouse. The third area that Brooks says you can have a strong commitment in to move to a second mountain is your philosophy or faith. Now, he doesn't come out and he doesn't say faith, doesn't say Christianity, anything like that. But he does call it religion in general, saying that religion produces very few good people. They talk a lot about how they're pious, how they go to church, how we need to love each other. But as soon as their piece of the pie feels threatened in any fashion, they're like tribalism in group, and they exclude everyone else, and they fight just as hard as anybody. And I agree. I go to church, and I totally agree with that on many, many counts. Religion produces very few truly good people. You really only see a good people with philosophy, faith, if they truly embody the characteristics they say they value. And most of them don't, actually. Fourth, community. I found this section super, super interesting and actually grabbed a lot of reading resources out of this, which I'm not going to cite below, but I think this is a great, great section on community and brought up a bunch of books that I will continue to go. Now, he says community, it could be like, think of a disadvantaged area and there's that one champion. There's those few champions that are committed to that community that just keep going. I think there's a lady in our area who fought to get a park in here years ago, who continues to fight for this community in our area of town to get nice stuff. And she's just out there all the time doing it. She has a second mountain life towards our community and is amazing, does amazing, amazing stuff. Now, my final question, as always, should you read The Second Mountain by David Brooks? Kind of two minds here. I actually didn't find that on some levels the book was well written. I didn't understand what a first mountain or second mountain life was really until the end. I'm like, 296. I got to that and I was like, oh, there's the definition I needed, at the beginning. I found that some of it was a little hand wavy, which is like, oh, you should do this thing and it's cool. And I was like, I guess, but it was not. Didn't feel concrete. And at the same time, the section on marriage in particular and the section on community in particular, I was like, oh, write more resources. And I just kept writing stuff down. It was excellent. I really liked those sections, especially as it came to further research. So I don't know. I don't know is maybe what I'm saying. If you really feel like you're lost and living, if the life you're living life, you're like, I don't know, it doesn't have much meaning, then this can be a really good book and it can give you a jumping off point with which to go further into one of the four areas, one of the four commitments, or even a fifth one that Brooks didn't highlight. So on that standpoint, yes. Although I have a feeling that some of the other resources he mentions throughout the book might be better ones to get started with. I haven't read them, any of them, all of them, so I don't know that for sure, but I have that feeling. So maybe, that's all I got. Maybe read the book, maybe don't. That's all I got for you. If you liked this review, you can give me a thumbs up below. If you loved it, you can hit the bell, make sure your device notifications are off so you can go do stuff with your family, do stuff with your kids, do something else besides wait for my wonderful face. If you really just like to see my wonderful face, then you can also go to patreon.com/CurtisMcHale and support the channel to help make sure videos keep coming. Have an excellent day.